A very good evening to one and all. Welcome back to another session of Swadhyaya. So, Swadhyaya is an academic series session. We are intending to support the academics of both UG as well as PG scholars. So, with these academic sessions, we are planning to help you with syllabus wise coverage of your concerned subjects of UG as well as PG syllabus. So, in this, we are planning 20 to 25 classes for each subject, and we have timetable for classes for each of the subject. I'm repeating it once more, as in all classes. Sundays are for Prasudi and Sriloka, Monday for Panchakarma, Tuesday for Kaya Chikitsa, Wednesdays for research methodology and statistics, Thursdays for Shalya, Fridays for Rasashastram Bhaishya Kalpana, and and Saturdays for Shalakya. So these are the subjects that we are presently dealing with, and for these syllabus-wise classes would be taken with PPT, and these recordings would be given to you for those who have registered with Swadhyaya, and also printed PDF notes would also be given as per syllabus points with relevant questions, frequently asked questions, and research links will also be provided if there are any relevant researches concerned with the syllabus topic. So these are the key highlights that we are providing in our academic sessions. Further, we would give you complete support, academic support till the end of your exams. At present, we are aiming at those students who have exams in November, and we are planning to wind up by October second week, after which we can have a couple of question discussions or so, so that you turn confident for your exams. This is our academic schedule, and the first two classes of each subjects are free promo classes, and you can attend them. You can analyze the classes, you can analyze the quality as well as the quantity of information that you get from these classes. And for any further details for registration, you can always contact Dr. Jasul from Ayurveda Map, and the links as well as the numbers would be provided in the chat box. You can follow that too. So, welcome to this session. Today we have started class on Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana, and we are dealing with the very first syllabus point today, that is fundamentals or the basic principles of Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana. So, we can move on to the session. I welcome you once more to this session. Myself, Dr. Gauri, who has completed my post-graduation from Government Ayurveda College, Trivandrum, currently working as the General Manager and Production in Charge of Everdynam Herbals Private Limited, Kintra Park, Menamkulam, Trivandrum. So thank you so much and welcome to the session. So today we are going to deal with the basic principles or the fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana. Okay, so we can just go into the subject. First of all, let's see what are the fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra. So, to understand what Rasa Shastra is or the fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra, you should first understand and analyze the word rasa, isn't it? So, first we should understand what rasa is when it comes to Rasa Shastra. We all know that when it comes to Ayurveda, there are a lot of synonyms for the word rasa, isn't it? So, what are the common things that we call as rasa? The kind. The most common thing is the dadu, first dadu, the kind, or the first dadu rasa, we call it as there's a dadu, we call it rasa. Then the navarasa, the rasa guna virya rasa taste, that we call rasa. Then to understand the essence of something, that is swarasa, or that is the essence of the plant or the fresh parts of the plant, that rasa we call. Then to know the to like water, generally to depict the thing as water, we say it as rasa, and further as mercury. Okay, In the concept of mercury also, we call it as rasa. This is generally speaking about Ayurveda. Generally speaking about Ayurveda, these are the various areas where we find the word rasa in the whole of the Ayurvedic classics. Even more there are, but these are the certain selected areas where we find the word rasa coined. Okay, now we'll see when it comes to Rasa Shastra, what is this word rasa means. Okay, first of all, it is Rasarnava has putted it or has defined it as rasatvat, dravatvat, rasaha. Okay, which can, that thing which can liquefy anything is known as rasa. Which can liquefy and assimilate anything is termed as rasa. Rasanat sarvadadunam rasa ityabhidiyate. This quoting from Rasaratna Samshayam. That also has the same meaning. Any dhadus which can be liquefied is known as rasa. So the rasanat abragadinam kirtido rasaha. That is a reference from Rasa Tarangani. Instead of dhaduna, Tarangani uses abragadinam. That also denotes the dhadus, all the metals and minerals, which can be the thing which has the capability to assimilate such things. Other dhadus and minerals are termed as rasa. Then in Rasaratna Samuchaya, there comes a quotation that Chararuk Mrityu Nashaya Rasyadeva Rasaha Smrataha. That is, that thing which can control, or that thing which can, deplete Jara, Ruk, Mrityu. Okay, Jara is old age, Ruk, different kinds of pains, and Mrityu, death. That which can control aging, that which can control different kinds of pains of humans, and that which can control the death are termed as rasa. Mama dehe rasaha yasmat tasmat rasastena muchyate. That is, Dasarnava has mentioned that we believe that Rasa Shastra was a science which was advised to Lordess Parvati by the Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, we consider Lord Shiva as the origin of Rasa Shastra. So it is considered, or it is believed, that Lord Shiva has advised the Shastra to Lordess Parvati. We will discuss about the lineage or the history and all in the future slides. So in this context, in Rasarnava, there is a quoting saying that because this has come from my body, it is termed as Rasa. We consider Mercury as the semen of Lord Shiva. Okay, we consider Mercury as the semen of Lord Shiva, and in Rasarnava, it has been very well depicted that Mama Dehe Rasaha Yasmat, the essence that has come out from my body, because it has come out from my body and because it is the essence of my body, it is termed as rasa. So, with all these references, we can conclude that the rasa mentioned in Rasa Shastra is nothing but mercury. So, we can conclude that the rasa mentioned in Rasa Shastra is nothing but nothing but mercury. From these references, anything which is in liquid state, anything which can liquefy or assimilate the dhatus and minerals, and the thing which has come out of the body, the rasa, or the essence of Lord Shiva, the semen of Lord Shiva, has been considered rasa. That is, mercury is the material, is the drug which is being depicted as a rasa in Rasa Shastra. And the Rasa Shastra is a science which revolves around rasa, which revolves around mercury. Okay, so we can see that in the history. In the coming slides, we will be seeing about the history only. But still, let me say a few words. Okay, in Vedic region, actually it was by 8th century onwards that we began to use the word Rasa Shastra. Even before that, there were instances where there are references in Vedas, there are references in Samhitas, everywhere where we use different kinds of metals and minerals for therapeutic uses also. Not only therapeutic uses, for other uses also. But nowhere there we have had the name Rasa Shastra. Nowhere we have coined or we have seen the term Rasa Shastra. It was in, we can see that in the Vedas, we see references of Devi Chikitsa, which has been considered as Rasa Chikitsa. But there also, the word Rasa Shastra is not coined. Actually, the word Rasa Shastra has come into being or was used from 8th century onwards. And it was during the time when the Siddhas saw that Rasa, that the Mercury is the center of things. That is, the Mercury is the main thing involved in these Rasa Chikitsa. Then it was then that they coined the name Rasa Shastra. Anything that revolves or anything, any procedure that involves the usage of Mercury is termed as Rasa Shastra. And it was after the giving such importance to Rasa or Mercury that the Rasa Shastra began to flourish, begin to develop. Okay, so this is the history of naming the Shastra as Rasa Shastra. This gives the meaning of what Rasa is, and we all know what Shastra is. It is science. So the science that deals with Rasa, the different aspects of rasa. Let it be Loha Veda, let it be Deha Veda, let it be Rasainika action, let it be Vyatihara action. Anything that deals with rasa or mercury comes under Rasa Shastra. Okay? So this is the meaning of the word Rasa Shastra, and this is how the word Rasa Shastra came into being also. Now we'll see about the history of Rasa Shastra. Okay, so when analyzing the development and progress of Rasa Shastra, we can see that in 5th to 8th century, it is considered as the preliminary age. 9th to 12th century as the middle age. 13th to 16th century as the peak period, and after 16th century, it has been considered as the Adhunika Kala or the modern age in regards to Rasa Shastra. And now talking about the lineage of Rasa Shastra, how we got this. Okay, actually it is believed that Rasa Shastra has been originated from Lord Shiva. As I have already told you, it is considered to be originated from Lord Shiva, who has advised it to Lord Parvati, who further advised it to Nandi, which passed it on to Agastya Muni. So this is the lineage of Rasa Shastra. And Rasa Shastra had flourished in North India, and in South it was propagated by Agastya Muni. Nalanda and Vikramashila were the main centers of learning medicine and alchemy in and around 12th century. Actually, Acharya Nagarjuna and all are disciples from this Nalanda University. Okay, so this is in regards to the lineage of Rasa Shastra. Now we will go in detail about the history of Rasa Shastra, its development, its progress, its flourishing in each of the age, what all were in prevail. We have to know it is an important point because history of Rasa Shastra is one of the questions that can be asked in your exams for both UGs as well as PGs. So you have to have a brief idea regarding the history of Rasa Shastra. If in case a question comes, you have to write in each of the ages the relevant points you have to know. Okay, so we'll just go through the different ages or different periods, and we'll see the status of Rasa Shastra in each of these periods. Okay, first it is the Vedic period. Okay, in Vedic period, that is in the period of Rig Veda, Yajur Veda and all. So we can see that there is a classification like Atharvani, Angirasi, Devi and Manushyaja mentioned in the Vedic period. Actually, Atharvani Chikitsa were mainly dealt with mantras, Angirasi with Shastra Chedanadi karmas, Devi with Rasa Chikitsa, and Manushyaja with Churna Snehadi. So we should understand that Rasa Chikitsa was in prevail even in the Vedic period, but it was known as the Devi Chikitsa. But they didn't know how to use mercury as medicines. They rather used the other metals and minerals for their treatment. Okay, and even Vedas quote the inclusion of many metals like Swarna, Rajata, Loha in various contexts for external dharana and for making vessels, for making artificial limb for those who have lost their limb in wars. So in many instances, we can see the use of these metals there, and also certain references of internal intakes were also there. We should understand that because the concept of Rasa Chikitsa as Devi Chikitsa was mentioned in Vedas. But we we never get any references of using mercury as a medicine in these areas. But we can see the usage of many other metals and minerals for treatment purpose. So that was the status of Rasa Shastra in Vedic period. Okay. Now coming to the Samhita Kala, so there is a Kala of Charaka, Sushruta, Ashtanga Sangraha and Ashtanga Hridaya. So coming to that, we can see that use of Anjana with Manishila has been mentioned. Okay, wearing of precious stones as Rakshagna. Then Lelita Kavasa, that is Gandhaka. Lelita Kavasa usage was seen in Kushta and Raktapinda. Anchanadi as well as Trapuati Gana was mentioned in Sushruta Samhita. Kasisa Tutta Ghorojana as external application with honey can be seen as reference in wound healing in Sushrita. Ayaskruti preparation can be seen with Loha Patras in Sushrita as well as Ashtanga. In 34th chapter of Sushrita, again it is mentioned that the king should always be protected by Rasa Visharada and Mandra Visharada. So again let's see, there is a clue that Rasa Chikitsa prevailed there, but still the usage of mercury was not mentioned in any of the Samhitas. Okay, so it was the metals and minerals. Even Pushyaniga Churna has got metals and Anjana and all are ingredients of Pushyaniga Churna. So many preparations with use of metals and minerals were prevailed in the Samhita Kala also, but Samhita Kala also keep quiet about the usage of mercury as medicines. Okay. Now the next, the Sangraha period. The Sangraha period, actually we can divide it into, based on the time period, we can divide it into 3 to 4 stages. So first we will see about 5 to 6th century AD. That was the time of Sangraha, Ashtanga Sangraha and Ashtanga Hridaya. So references regarding the properties of various metals and minerals have been described. Then further use of Shilajatu as a rasayana has been mentioned. Swarnamakshika is quoted as a rasayana. Mushas was first described by Vagbada in Ashtanga Sangraha. Bhanupaka for Shodhana of iron was mentioned by Ashtanga Sangraha. So these were the contributions of Vagbada in 5th to 6th century AD regarding Rasa Shastra. Now coming to the next phase, that is from 8th century to 10th century. That was the period of Nagarjuna and Vyadi. Both these acharyas, both these siddhas, they're disciples of Nalanda and Takshashila University, and they were well versed in alchemy. Actually, it was from the reign of Nagarjuna and Acharya Vyadi that actually books began to be written for solely for Rasa Shastra, dealing with various usages and various uh, principles and properties of mercury. We can see references from 8th century onwards. So how we can process mercury, how should we use mercury, what are the various techniques by which we can control or we can bring mercury to a controllable state. All these references here and there we could get from 8th century onwards. So we should understand that the usage of mercury, even not for Vyadihara property, but usage of mercury for the first time has started from 8th century onwards with the advent of Nagarjuna. Okay, so it was during this period that Rasa Shastra gained momentum and Loha Veda prevailed. Okay, which prevailed, we'll see what Loha Veda is. Loha Veda was prevailing at this time. See, it was actually Mercury was first utilized not just for not in the concept of Vyadihara property. Then the people were more concerned about gaining more riches. So how can we gain more riches? How can we gain more wealth? That was their primary aim. So what they did was they used mercury. They found out that with the help of mercury, they could convert lower metals into higher metals. So that is what is called as Loha Veda, converting lower metals into higher metals so that can become rich, they can become wealthier. So that was their primary aim at that point of time, at around 8th to 10th century AD. So mercury was used for this purpose. This is called Loha Veda. Okay. Next it was 11th to 13th century. So in 11th to 13th century, it was the time of Rasa Hridayatanda, Rasa Ratna Sanchena and Rasarnava. So this is considered as the golden era of Rasa Shastra. It is gaining high momentum during this time. And it was at this time that Rasa began to be used for Deha Veda and Vikara Prashamana. So it was at this time that the Siddhas understood the Vyadihara property of rasa, the Deha Veda property. So this Loha Veda is converting lower metals to higher metals. Deha Veda means converting the tissues, body tissues, from a lower state to higher state. That means to give rasayanika action to the body tissues, to attain Sthira Deha, or to attain youth, constant youth. That was what. So for this purpose, they began to use mercury. So by 11th to 13th century AD, people understood that acquiring wealth or acquiring so much riches is of no use. Okay, when you die, you don't take anything with you. So it is of no use if you are going to take so much wealth. So they thought that that is not our ultimate aim. As humans, this is not our ultimate aim. So they realized that it is actually attainment of moksha. It is actually attainment of a healthy body that is more important than attainment of wealth. So what did they do? They began to use mercury for attainment of health or healthy body. And the mercury, they began to use it for rasayanika action to maintain this health, and also vikara prashamana things, that is to pacify the vyadis. And it was at this time, for Deha Veda purposes, the the samskaras, Ashta samskara as well as Ashtadasha samskaras were introduced. Then further, it was during this time that Muslim invasions came into India. And by these Muslim invasions, the Unani system, the Hakims came, and actually the Unani system got mixed up with this alchemy, and we began to prepare bhasmas from metals and minerals as well as pishtis from these minerals. So that is exactly when, by this combination, we got much more practical knowledge, or the various methods by which we could convert these metals, minerals, as well as paradas into things or into drugs which could pacify the disease and which could provide rasayana actions too. Okay, thus this period, that is from 11th to 13th century, is considered as the golden era of Rasashastra, as a lot of renaissance came into Rasashastra during this period. Next, regarding the Adhunika Kala, that is after 16th century, in textbooks like Ayurveda Prakasha, Siddha Bheshja Manibala, and Rasa Tarankini came into existence, and they are considered as the practical books. Okay, they have a lot of practical knowledge described in them. Those things which we cannot, which is not much possible during these times, are omitted in these books, and they have refined the books or writings to the level that those writings are like, all those writings could be practically done by us. So in such a way, they refined the Shastra. And it is during these times European invasions came, and effective management of certain infectious diseases like pirangas could be done with the help of these rasa medicines. And more concentration was given to Vyadhi Prashamana aspect as far as Rasa Shastra is concerned, and practical compilations, as I've already mentioned, practical compilations of Rasa Shastra are also included in this era. So this is about the development and progress of Rasa Shastra. Right from the Vedic era to Adhunika Kala, this is the development and progress. This question is important. You can have a question in reference to as history of Rasa Shastra. Okay, then you will have to divide the developmental ages into basically four: Vedic period, Samhita period, Sangraha period, and Adhunika Kala. And you have to include these points in each of the ages. What are the changes that has happened to Rasa Shastra when Mercury came into the limelight? And in the limelight of Mercury itself, how was it considered first? Then in later stages, how it was converted for using in body as Vyadihara things, as Dehaveda and Vyadihara things. And then it got further refined to use of just Vyadihara things. So in this way, you have to write a progressive a development of Rasa Shastra right from the Vedic era till the Adhunika Kala. So that is regarding to history of Rasa Shastra. Now we'll discuss a short note about the Concept of Rasa Shastra. I have already discussed in the past few slides. The initial concept of Rasa Shastra was Loha Veda, that is to convert lower metals to higher metals. Okay, and thereafter, then the initial concept was Loha Veda. Then they began to use this knowledge for Deha Veda purpose. Okay, that is to convert the lower tissues to higher tissues and thereby rejuvenate the body tissues. Purvam lohe parikshe tado dehe prayoje. That is a quotation from Rasatna Samachaya. First, they experimented it on lohas, and when found effective, they did it on human bodies. Okay. So why was this done? To provide rasayana action. And thereby, rightly, the term rasa should be understood as, what is rasayana action? Jararuk Mrityunasha, right? So Jararuk Mrityunashaya Rasya Deva Rasah Smritaha. So it is rightly the Rasa Shastra, the concept of Rasa Shastra or the aim of Rasa Shastra is mentioned as Jararuk Mrityunashaya Rasya Deva Rasah Smritaha. That is a science dealing with medicaments with the ability to incorporate with Rasadhadu and reach all the ayanas are termed as Rasayanas. That is, the things which could give a rejuvenative action by mixing along with the rasadhatu and reaching even the minutest channels of the body are termed as rasayanas, or and those things, those drugs are mentioned in the concept of Rasa Shastra. Now coming to philosophy of Rasa Shastra, you can, especially the UG students can get to write short notes on this philosophy of Rasa Shastra. What is the basic philosophy that Rasa Shastra follow? That is Raseshwara Darshana. Raseshwara Darshanam is a darshana, or is the basic philosophy of Rasa Shastra. We will see what Raseshwara Darshanam is. Okay. So it was initially mentioned in books like Rasa Hrudaya Tandra, Rasarnava and Sarva Darshana Sangraha. In Sarva Darshana Sangraha, a separate chapter has been mentioned for Raseshwara Darshana. Okay, so it was initially mentioned in 3 books, that is Rasa Hridaya Tantra, Rasarnava and Sarva Darshana Sangraha. So, what is the concept of Raseshwara Darshana? So, I told you that initially the Rasa was used in Loha Veda, that is to convert lower metals to higher metals. And then at that time, what was the vision of the people? What was the aim of the people? It was to gain wealth. But slowly, during around 12th century, 11th century, 13th century AD, people began to realize that this is not our aim. This is not actually the aim of human being. So then they thought about it, and then they understood. They realized that it is the health that is more important than wealth. Okay, health is wealth. We say that now, no? So then the people realize that it is actually a healthy body that is important. So our basic aim as human beings should be to gain health, to gain a healthy body and live longer. And further in Raseshwara Darshana, the Acharya has the philosophy goes on like this. That is our basic aim. The concept of moksha has been the ultimate aim of Ayurveda, ultimate aim of almost all Indian philosophies. But what is that moksha? It is, yeah, liberation after death, right? What is moksha? We have all studied what moksha is. In all Indian philosophies, they emphasize that moksha is the ultimate aim of humans. It should be the ultimate aim of life. And what is moksha defined as? It is liberation of the soul after death, isn't it? But when it comes to Raseshwara Darshana, or when it comes to the philosophy of Rasa Shastra, it emphasizes that this moksha or this liberation is not something which we have to attain after death, but it is something which we have to attain during our lifetime itself. So for this purpose, we have, so how can we attain this moksha? Books, the Darshana says, Raseshwara Darshana says that by Yadhartha Jnana and by Yoga Abhyasa, by 2 things, that is by Yadhartha Jnana and by Yoga Abhyasa, you can gain, yes, you can gain this moksha during lifetime. So, and how can we get so much jnana and yoga abhyasa? We should have a very healthy, long life, no? So, use rasa. So, use rasa for Deha Veda so that you can get a healthy body, or you can get a Sthira Deha, with which you can attain Jeevan Mukti, that is moksha during lifetime, by achieving Yathartha Jnana and Yoga Abhyasa. This is the basic concept of Raseshwara Darshanam. So, what is Raseshwara Darshanam says? Jivan Mukti is the ultimate moksha. That is not after death, but during life itself, you should attain moksha. How can you attain moksha during lifetime? Through Yathartha Jnana and Yoga Abhyasa. And how is this possible? By attaining a Sthira Deha. How do you get Sthira Deha? Yeah, you take rasa, you take the rasa and you practice Deha Veda. You attain Sthira Deha, you attain a healthy body so that you can do Yoga Abhyasa and Yathartha Jnana via which you can get Jivan Mukti. So this concept is the basis philosophy of Rasa Shastra and this Raseshwara Darshana. Okay, and those who acquire Jivan Mukti by the usage of rasa or mercuric preparations are called as rasa siddhas. Okay, they are known as rasa siddhas. So you can get short notes regarding philosophy of Rasa Shastra. So mention that this Raseshwara Darshana, which is the philosophy of Rasa Shastra, and write a short note regarding this about Jivan Mukti, about Sthira Deha, how do you get Sthira Deha, by attaining Sthira Deha, after doing what all you can get Jivan Mukti. So all these things you have to brief when it is asked. Okay. Next, it is regarding the importance of Rasa Shastra. This is also important. It's an important point. So, if the basic principles is asked, you can include everything. The philosophy you will have to add. You will have to add the importance of Rasa Shastra at the end, and you will also have to add the pharmaceutical procedure. So, in the last slide of the class, I have included some questions, and at that time, after the whole discussion of the class, we can summarize what all we can write in each question. What all are the key points that you should include in each question? Okay. Now we'll look on to the importance of Rasa Shastra. Okay. So, regarding the importance of Rasa Shastra, why is Rasa Shastra considered as superior? Okay, it is considered as superior among the three therapies. According to Dasaratna Samuchaya, Asuri, Manushi, Devi, Chikilsa, Kritamata. There are three types of Chikilsa, that is Asuri, Manushi, and Devi. That is Shastraehi, Kashayehi, Lohati. That is Asuri is that which uses Shastradi karmas. Manushi is that uses Kashayadi, Kashaya Churna Lehyas, where Devi is that which uses Lohadyas. So, and in among these, Pramanyevachta Tatra Pujitaha, that in the preceding order it is superior, that is Shastraihi is, that is Asuri is inferior, Manushi Madhyama, and Devi is considered as superior. Okay, why is it considered so? Why? Because Shastraihi, when you use Shastra Karma, you are causing infliction to the people, isn't it? You are injuring. So it is considered inferior. And then why Bheshaja, that is Kashta Ushadis or Kashaya Churnatyas are considered as only Madhyama? The answer is the next sloka. To see, Satyeshu Bhejajam Sarvameridham Tat Vedina Asatyeshu Abhidadavyo Raso Api Shreshtaha Uchyade. That is, the Kashta Ushadis or Kashaya Churna Lehyadas can be used in conditions which are sadhyas, in diseases which we call as sadhya rogas. Whereas Rasa drugs, Rasa Chikitsa can be applied even in Asadhya rogas. So, we consider Rasa Chikitsa much more superior to, yeah, much more superior to Bhaishaja or Bheshaja, or much more superior to Manushi Chikitsa. So, even when Asadhya Chikitsa, Asadhya rogas are there, we can treat it via Rasa Chikitsa. So it is considered the superior treatment. It is mentioned in Dasintasara Sangraha. Then, what is the next important? What is the next point that makes Rasa Chikitsa or Rasa Shastra so important? Alpamatrobhayogitvad. In last class also we discussed this sloga, right? Alpamatrobhayogitvad arujera prasangataha shipramarugyadayitvad aushadevyo adiko rasaha. That is, it is effective even in low dosage. There is no distaste involved and it can restore health faster. Shipramarugyadayitvad. So, Rasa Aushadas are considered superior. Next, it has a longer shelf life when considered to Kashta Aushadis. The Rasa drugs have a longer shelf life as Purana Syuhu Gunair Yukta Asavo Yadavo Rasaha. So the dhatu, that is metals and minerals, as well as rasa drugs have a longer shelf life when compared to kashta or bheshajas. So this was regarding the importance of Rasa Shastra. Okay. So the basic principles of Rasa Shastra are few of the points. There is one more point which we will discuss at the last of the class. Now we will move on to basic principles of Bhaishya Kalpana. Okay. Let's see what Bhaishya. Now can I ask you something? What is the demarcating thing between Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana? Actually, this Bhaishya Kalpana is the treatment with Kashtaushadhis and Rasa Chikitsa or Rasa Shastra is the treatment in regard to Rasa Aushadhis. Okay, so Bhaishya Kalpana deals with how plant materials, if such things, Kashtaushadhis can be converted into medicines. While in Rasa Shastra, we will deal with how metals and minerals, Dhatuadi Vargas, how we can convert it into medicaments. Both deal with preparation of medicaments only, but one is converting Kashtaushadhis, the other is converting Rasa Aushadhis. Okay, this is the basic difference between Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana. Both actually has the same roles. What is it? It is converting a raw material into an aushadha, into a medicament. That is exactly what is dealt in both the Shastras, but actually the raw materials differ in both the cases. That is the basic difference between Rasa Shastra and Bhaishya Kalpana, but they both are intending towards preparation of medicaments. Okay, so now we will see basic principles of Bhaishya Kalpana. First we will describe what Bhaishya is. Okay, Bhesham Rogam Bhayam Jayadi iti Bheshajam, the substance which can overcome the fear of disease. Substance which can overcome the fear of disease is termed as Bhesham. Okay, and Bheshajyadi Chikitsyadi Rogan Nivrityadi Vanena iti Bheshajam. That is, which overcomes the fear of Roga. Bheshajyadi Chikitsyadi Rogan, which can treat Rogas. Nivrityadi Rogan, which can cure Rogas. These are termed as Bheshajam. Bheshajyadi, Chikilsyadi Rogan, Nivrityadi Rogan, Va Anena iti Bheshajam. Okay, so what is Bheshajam? It can remove or overcome the fear of rogas. It can treat the roga. It can cure the rogas. These are known as Bheshajas. Okay, and regarding the synonyms of Bheshajas, चिकित्सितं व्याधिहरं पथ्यं साधनम् औषधं प्रायश्चित्तं प्रशमनं प्रकृतिस्थापनं हितं विद्याद् भेषज नामानि. Chaira Chikitsa mentions quite a number of synonyms for भेषजं. चिकित्सितं व्याधिहरं पथ्यं साधनम् औषधं प्रायश्चित्तं प्रशमनं प्रकृतिस्थापनं हितं विद्याद् भेषज. These are all synonyms for the word भेषज. Okay, now we'll see what kalpana is. Kalpana, it is actually originated from the word Kripu Samartye. Amarkosha from Kripu Samartye. And further in Amarkosha, there is a brief description mentioning that Kalpaha Vidhi Vidhane Samskare Kalpe Vidikramo. That is the order Kalpaha Vidhi Vidhane. So, the order in which we make a Kalpa. Kalpaha Vidhi Vidhane Samskare Kalpe Vidikramo. So the order in which we are making a kalpana, we are making a dosage form is known as kalpana. Okay, and Chakrapani further clarifies it as kramam kalpa prayoganam kalpam tatra prajakshate. Okay, the process through which the raw material is transformed into a medicinal preparation. Kramam, the order, the process. Kramam kalpa prayoganam, the process involved in converting the raw materials into a kalpa form, into a dosage form is known as, is known as kalpana. Okay, this is the definition of kalpana. So now you know what bhaishya is, what kalpana is. So what is bhaishya kalpana? Yeah, converting a raw material into a dosage form, the process involved in converting the raw material into a dosage form so that this dosage form can be used as a medicament is termed as Bhaishya Kalpana. Okay? So, now coming to the importance of Bhaishya Kalpana. What is the importance of Bhaishya Kalpana? Let's see. योगादभिविषं तीक्ष्णम् उत्तमं भेषजं भवेत् Heshajam Javiduruktam Tishnam Sambhadyade Visham. We know Vatsanabha is a medicine, isn't it? And we know Vatsanabha is a Visha also. So if you go and take Vatsanabha and eat it directly, will you get the intended effect? No, you get the reversed effect, isn't it? So the, the Acharya or the Vaidya should know how to process it. So that is it. The processing of raw material in such a way that even the Visha can be turned into an Aushadha. Yogadapi Visham Tikshnam Uttamam Veshajam Bhavit. If it is used properly, if it is transformed properly, if it is like if the samskarana of the transformation is done properly as per yukti, as per yojana, then even the Visha can be, even the Tikshna Visha can be converted into what? Converted into a medicament, into a Veshaja. The Tikshna Visha Vatsanabha, it can be converted into by yukti of by using it judiciously after shodhana in the required quantity, in the required amount, required dose. If it is being used, we can convert it into one of the most powerful medicaments of Ayurveda, isn't it? So that is exactly what the sloka in Charaka Sutra says. Yogagada vidisham dikshnam uttamam heshajam bhavet. In the same way, heshajam chabi duryuktam dikshnam sambatyade visham. If the patient, if the powerful, potent in medicine, if not used wisely, it can serve as a visha also. The rasa, this thing, uh, the Kupi Pakwa, Rasa Sindura. It is one of the most potent formulations in Rasa Chikitsa. It is Lokavahi, it is Amrita, it is Sukshma, it is Sarva Vyadihara when used along with certain Anipana. Accordingly, if Anipana is used, it is Sarva Vyadihara. But if it is given, because it is such a good Amrita like medicine, and if you are going to give it in a dose, when the actual dosage is around half to one reti, you're going to give it in a dose of one karsha, it will act as a poison, right? Isn't it? So that is what the acharya says. Even when the Bheshaja is such a powerful medicine, if it is not judicially administered, then it can act as a Visha, isn't it? So this is the importance of Bhaishaja Kalpana. You should know how to convert a Visha into Bheshaja. Then यथा विषम यदा शस्त्रम तदा अग्नि शनेर्यथा तथा औषधम अविज्ञातम यज्ञातम अमृतम yatha. So if a drug is not properly understood and if it is not administered judicially, it can act like a visha, it can act like a weapon, it can act like agni, and it can act even like a thunderbolt. Okay, but if it is administered judiciously, it can act like an amrita, it can act like a nectar. So this is importance of Bhaishya. So it is in the hands of the Vaidyas how to convert these raw materials into the medicaments. It is that in that conversion that everything rests. How you are going to treat a person lies in how you are going to use a raw material. Okay, so that is why Vaisheshya Kalpana is very much important. If you know that for this in this condition you can use Vatsanava, but if you don't know how to use Vatsanava, how to process Vatsanava, is there any use in the knowledge that Vatsanava can be used in this fever? No. So that is why Vaisheshya Kalpana is important. Okay. Now, this is the key sloka. You can start with this sloka when a question is asked like importance of Bhaishajya Kalpana. Alpasyavi mahatvatvam prabhudasya alpakarmata kuryat samyoga vishlesha kala samskara yuktibhi. This is spelling mistake. It is not kala, it is kala. Kala samskara yuktibhi. Okay. Sharakam Kalpasthana explains this sloka. That is, the potency of a drug can be altered. See, if you want to give a drug in double potency to a person, then if you want to give Tribala to a person, but you want to give it in double potency. So you take Tribala Churna, you impregnate it in Tribala Swarasa or Tribala Kashaya, you do Bhavana and give the powder, it will have double effect. Okay, that is Alpasyavi Mahartatva. Okay, next it is Prabhudasya Alpakarmata. Uh, hello? Hello? Okay. So what it is mentioned is like Alpasyavi Mahartatvam Prabhudasya Alpa Karma. That is, when you want to give a double effect, you can. Okay, is it audible?
Yeah, ma'am, audible.
Okay. So Alpasyavi Mahartatvam Prabhudasya Alpa Karmata. That is, when you want to give a double dosage, you can do that. That is Alpasyavi Mahartatvam. Now, if you want, if you have a, I'll take again the examples of Vatsana by itself, or you will take of Datura. Datura has a broad spectrum of action. Okay? You don't want such a big spectrum of action. You want to give it to a person who cannot withstand such a broad spectrum of action. So you can accordingly convert it by bhavana with adjuvant things more similar to the condition of that particular person. For example, I will tell you, you want to give like say you want to give datura itself to a person with a strong joint problems, but you are giving you're going to give it to a person who is around 55 years of age. So you know, after analyzing of all these dosha prakriti and all, you can see that that patient would not withstand a very powerful medicine. So datura is one of the upavisha, so it is highly potent. So what will we do? We will accordingly process it with things like milk, that you do either svetana in milk or you do titration in milk. So you do such things so that it will be milder, but its effect is there. So when prabhuta karmana is there to reduce its effect to the, and so that we could give it accordingly to the patient's condition. So to diminish that activity also, what should we have? We should have proper knowledge, right? So alpasya vimahatatvam, that is to alter the drug effect, to increase or decrease. What should we do? What is the basic principles that we should follow? You use samyoga, vishlesha, kala, samskara, yuktivihi. That is, these are the 5 principles that we utilize in Bhaishya Kalpana to alter the potency or alter the effects of a raw material or alter the effect of a drug. So it is samyoga, it is vishlesha, it is kala, samskara, and yukti. So what is samyoga? It is combination, it is combining, joining. Vishlesha, what is vishlesha? Separation. What is kala? It is time. What is samskara? It is transformation. And what is yukti? It is rationale. Okay. So these are the 5 points, key points, which you have to utilize while you convert a drug into a medicine. So let's see how this will help you, how these 5 things are going to help you in preparing a medicament. So let's see that. First of all, it is samyoga. What is samyoga according to Sharaka Vimana? So samyoga punardvayoho bahunam va dravyanam samhadi bhavaha. It is combining of one or more drugs. Okay. So how is it going to help you in Bhaishya Kalpana? When you combine certain drugs together by physical combinations. Example, when you are preparing Triphala Churma, you take the Triphala, that is Haritaki, Vivitaki, Amlaki, in the required ratio, you will join them, powder it and join them. That is physical combination, isn't it? So this is mixtures, or churnas as we say in Ayurveda. Then, what is the next method that we use to combine things? It is chemical combinations. That is, when you prepare a quada, when you prepare a decoction, you are extracting the, yeah, you are combining many drugs and you are extracting the heat liabilities. That is, there a chemical combination is happening. You are boiling it in water. Hydrolysis is happening, isn't it? In Arishta, what is happening? The alcohol soluble constituents are being joined there, isn't it? So that is where that is chemical compound. Compounds are being formed in Sneha Kalpana. The lipid as well as water soluble components are being joined together, isn't it? In Sneha. So this is exactly what is meant by samyogaha. So this is one principle. So when you want to give a particular medicine, you want to give Brahmi to a child. So you make it into a Brahmi Grida. You use Grida. You combine it with Grida. You process it in Grida. That is Samyoga of Brahmi in Grita. When you want to give the same Brahmi Churna in an old age patient. Okay, so in an old condition who has a lot of inflammatory problems also. So that is not that advisable when you have a lot of inflammation, when you have a lot of edema, when you have, if it is an obese patient, so we say we have an obese patient with us, we cannot give Grita to that person. So what will we do? We will make Brahmi Kashaya, isn't it? So there we use the concept of Kashaya. So as per the conditions, you combine the drugs along with different bases or different other materials so that we can get the intended effect. Or we make Brahmi Churna, we mix it with honey and give. Okay. So as per the conditions, we combine different things. This is Samyoga. So that is one principle that we use in Haishajya Kalpana. For what? To increase or decrease the potency of the raw material to convert it into a medicament. Now, what is the next principle that we use? Vishlesha. Vishlesha is separation, separating a substance to two or more parts. Vibhagastu vibhaktihi syad viyogaha bhagashah graha. We can understand Vishlesha as vibhakti, viyoga, or bhagashah graha. In vibhakti, what is we are cutting down? We are making the stula rupa into sukshma rupa. We can take the example of churna itself. In Tribala churna, can we take will it be the same effect if you take the whole of haridaki, whole of amlaki, whole of the vibhidaki as such and drink water, or as powder and drink water? Which one will have more bioavailability? The churna will have more bioavailability, isn't it? Because of bigger surface area and smaller particles, like the penetration is more. So you have to that is divide it into small bhagas, convert stula rupa to sukshma rupa for better assimilation. That is known as vibhakti. Vibhagas to vibhakti. Vibhakti is division. Okay. So viyogaha. Viyogaha is, yeah, it is like separating the principles. Actually, when you make Tribala Kashaya, you are extracting only the water soluble, heat liable principles. The volatile things are going. You are not getting it from Tribala. Only the heat liable and water soluble things you are separating it from Tribala and giving it as Tribala Kashayan. So you are again doing a separation there, isn't it? That is Viyogaha. Next, Bhagasho Grahaha. That is, in from Dadi you are taking Mastu. From Guduji you are extracting the Guduji Sattva. These are all Bhagasho Grahaha. That is, a particular Bhaga is being extracted. Okay? So this is Bhagasho Grahaha. So by these principles also, you can convert a raw drug into a medicament as per or need. Next, what is the principle? Kala Prakarshana. Best example is Arishtasavas. The change in properties that occurs due to season, due to course of time, all these comes under Kala. Then, example is Arishtakalpan. Then, regarding to collection of Dravya in a particular season, Madana Bhala, we always advise to collect it in Grishmande. Then, in the context of Purana Grida, Purana Shali, it is Kala which is acting in there. Okay, so based on these things, Kala also help us to choose or to convert a raw material into the wanted medicament. Next, this is the most important point, not only with Bhaishya Kalpana, but with Rasa Shastra or preparation of any medicament. The basic principle involved is samskara. What is happening? We are transforming the raw material into medicament. The samskara is happening. The gunandaradhanam. The gunandaran is happening in that raw material. Samskaro hi gunandaradhanam uchide. And what are the steps involved for this gunandara? There are 10 different samskaras mentioned in Charagam Vimanustana. Te gunaha, toya, agni, sannikarsa, shauja, mandana, desha, kala, vasana, bhavana, agrihi, kala prakarasha, bhajana, dvesha, at the end. So there are 10 different methods of samskaras that has been mentioned in Charaka Vimanustana, which is utilized for the transformation of the raw material into a medicament so that it can increase the bioavailability of the drug. Okay, let's see certain examples. Toya Sannikasha. Toya Sannikasha is we use the concept of hydrolysis, soaking in water. That is, you all know when you are like going to prepare the dough for doshas or idli, before grinding the rice, what will you do? You soak it in water for a few hours, right? Before you cook dal. You cook this black gram and all. You soak it in water. Why do you do that? So that it becomes softer to incorporate hydrolysis. Okay, that is Toya Sannikarsa. In case of Shodhana, also there are quite a lot references where we do Sthavana in certain drugs. We keep it in these drugs so that hydrolysis happens. Next, it is Agni Sannikasha, providing heat. Providing heat is another example of some samskaras. The Kvatas, then most of the preparations, the Sneha Kalpana, everything uses Agni as the prime source. Okay, they use for samskara. Shauja, this cleaning. Don't confuse Shauja with Toya Sannikarsha. Both of these are two different. Toya Sannikarsha is usage of water for conversion of one thing to another for the concept of samskara. But Shauja is cleaning. It is not just washing alone. It can be like hand picking of the unwanted particles, sieving of the particles, or just the cleaning with clothes or with magnet you use to remove the iron particles. So all these comes under Shauja. So Shauja, don't think it is just cleaning with water. Okay, Shauja means purifying the substance, and there are a lot of methods involved in Shauja Karma. Then it is Mantana. Mantana is churning. Desha. Desha is storing in the Padil. In case of Purana Grita, in case of Arishtasava, it is Desha. In Arishtasava, we have special areas for storing, right? In specific, in Bhande, you say, or in like in the other areas, you have to keep it in for fermentation, which is not affected with wind, air, insects, etc. So certain deshas will be mentioned for storing as well as for procuring also. When you say for collection of a drug, you should dhanve sadharane deshe. We say, right? You have to collect it from either Jangla Desha or Sadharana Desha as per as Shangara. So that is the importance of Desha. So that is also important because a plant growing in one Desha will have one property while that growing in another area will have another property. If it is growing in a marshy area, it will have Kleda property. But when it is growing in a Jangala Desha, with a dry arid area, it has Ruksha properties, isn't it? So the collection of raw drugs from certain deshas is also important. Okay, so that will also affect the transformation. Then Kala. Kala is time of collection. As I have already mentioned, Madana Bala. Then for Virejana Dravya, you collect it in Vasandande. So all these things have been mentioned. So Kala is also one of the samskaras. The time of collection as well as in Arishtasava, the time duration taken for ripening or for preparation of Arishtas. That is the duration taken for ripening of mango. The Ama Amra as well as Pakwa Amra have different properties. Okay, so these things comes under Kala. Then Vasana, flavoring will have, especially when it is mentioned in Drakshadi Panda, in Jwara Chigilsa, Pittahara, uh, Jadi Kusuma Vasida, it is mentioned because you know for Pitta Prakriti or Pitta conditions, Vasana can pacify Pitta. So, Vasana is another samskara. Bhavana, just try treating that you all know. Kala Prakasha. The Kala and Kala Prakasha both are mentioned. The first Kala is usually in the commentaries we would say it is its time for collection, and Kala Prakasha is actually the conversion, transformation time as we say in Arishtas. Bhajana, the vessel. You have seen in ample references, take copper vessels, Udumbara Patra, take iron vessels, store it in horn. So all these things have been mentioned. Special storage vessels have been mentioned because even that has effect on those medicaments. Okay, so these are the 10 points that comes under samskara. So when bhaishajya, when a raw material is being converted into a medicament, you have to consider all these things as per the condition of the patient. You utilize each one of this. Okay, you do the concerned samskara and give it to the patient. Next, Yukti. Use your reasoning power, use your cognizance, use your wisdom before you convert a raw material into a medicament and give it to a patient. So these are the 5 principles that you should understand and you should follow while preparing a medicament. Samyoga, Vishlesha, Kala, Samskara, Yukti. These are the 5 points, and utilizing these for Alpasyavi Mahatvatvam Prabhudasya Alpakarmata of a drug is the basic concept involved in what? the basic concept involved in Bhaishajya Kalpana. So this is exactly the importance of Bhaishajya Kalpana. So we have discussed quite a few things for Bhaishajya Kalpana regarding the importance of Bhaishajya Kalpana. Okay, so we have mentioned that we can convert even the Visha into Bheshaja or Bheshaja. If not properly utilized, it can act as a Visha. It can act like a Shastra. It can act like fire. It can act like thunderbolt. And also, Acharya has told us in Charaka Vimanasana how you can convert a drug into an effective medicament by using these 5 principles. So all these comes under what? Comes under basic principles of Bhaishajya Kalpana, as well as you can write it if a question is asked regarding importance of Bhaishajya Kalpana also. Okay. Next we'll see, I told you, no, some part I have left regarding the basic principles of Rasa Shastra to the last. This is because I had to uh, describe to you what samskara is first, and then only I can tell this. I can describe this. Okay, now you know what samskara is. What are the basic principles of samskaras? Okay, how we can convert a raw drug into a medicament via samskara. Now, how this samskara is utilized in Rasa Shastra. The PGs, please note, this is one of the commonly asked questions. Enumerate the samskaras mentioned in Rasa Shastra. Okay, the pharmaceutical procedures, the samskaras of Rasa Shastra. The samskaras associated with Rasa Shastra, we can just bring out in these 4 main headings: Shodhana, Charana, Marana, and Mushana. A brief description of all these 4 things I'll give you now. A detailed class regarding this would be taken in the coming classes, but now I'll give you a brief discussion because this also comes under fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra. Okay, so these are the basic. How do we convert a metal or mineral into a medicament in Rasa Shastra? This is the samskara. This is the principle that we use. So if you are asked a question, write the basic principles of Rasa Chikitsa also. These are the basic principles: the Shodhana, Charana, Marana, and Moshana. Okay. First, Shodhana. Uddishtairaushadaihi sartam kriyade peshanadigam malavichittaihi yat shodhanam tadiposyate. Okay, so you do with Uddishtairaushada, with the asset or with the correct aushadas, you do Peshanadi Kriyas. Peshanadi Kriyas means grinding like techniques. That can be grinding, that can be Nirvaba, that can be Dalana, that can be Svedana, that can be Bharjana. So there are quite a lot of techniques that has been told under the concept of Shodhana for metals and minerals. So all those things come under Peshanadi. It is not told Peshana, it is told as Peshanadi, so that all these procedures comes. So it is a vast topic, Shodhana. That is why we will deal it in detail in future, in further classes, in coming classes. But now I am giving you a small idea because this is also a fundamental principle of Rasa Shastra. So use the concerned dravyas to do Peshanadi Kriyas in order to remove the malavichittaihi yattu shodhanam tadipochade. So using the appropriate drugs by techniques like Peshanadi Kriyas to remove the mala or toxicity is known as, yeah, the procedure is known as Shodhana. Okay, so why do we do that? We do that to remove the toxicity as well as to make it suitable for using it as a medicament. Okay, and examples of Shodhana techniques are Bhavana, Nirvapana, Svedana, Tarjana, and Utpullikarna. Examples, quite detailed examples are being given in the notes provided. Okay, next, Jarana. In certain metals like Pudi Lohas, Naga, Vanga, Yashada, etc., where the metals are having low melting point, after Shodhana, we cannot convert it directly into Bhasma. Okay, so in such cases, we take up an intermediary process. That is, we combine these liquefied metals along with certain Shariya dravyas like Apamata Shara or Kandaliya Shara. We put Sharas and we do we do a procedure known as Charana so that we convert it into powder form. Then we give Marana, or then we undergo Bhasmikarana. So Charana is an intermediate procedure which is used in cases of certain metals with low melting point like Pudi Lohas, like Naga, Vanga, Yashada, to convert it into, it is an intermediate process between Shodhana and Marana, Shodhana or Bhasmikarana, to help it to convert it into, it is an intermediate process which helps the conversion of these metals into bhasmas. Okay, that is one reference of Charana in Rasa Shastra. Another reference of Charana is process of digestion, that is assimilation of the dhadus or minerals put into mercury, Bubukshita mercury in Bida Yandra, so that it is completely assimilated or digested in mercury to form amalgams. Okay, this is another Charana. So there are two references of Charana in Rasa Shastra. One is an intermediate process between Shodhana and Marana in case of Kudi Lohas to help it convert into Bhasmas. Another one is in reference, it is mentioned in Paribhasha, it is mentioned in reference to mercury, where it assimilates or digests whatever it is ingested into the mercury to Bivukshita Parvati in Bidayendra, with the help of Bidayendra. And why is this used? To form amalgams, which can be used for treating, for rasayanika actions it is being used. This one, the first one Jarana is for Vyadihara property, for converting metals into bhasmas for Vyadihara property, while the other Jarana deals with mercury, and that is for Rasayana property. Those mercuries are being used for Rasayana, that is Deha Beta properties. Okay, so two concepts, two references of Charana are mentioned in Rasa Shastra. Both are samskaranas only. Okay. Next, Marana. Okay, you have to convert most of the metals and minerals you cannot consume after Shodhana. You have to convert it into bhasmas, and those bhasmas should satisfy the bhasma parikshas also. Okay, only then you can take those bhasmas. Otherwise, it can cause heavy metal toxicities. So, what is Marana? Shodhidan lohadatvadin vimadhya swarasadivihi agni samyogato bhasmer utasvaraha. So, the purified metals, by combining it with swarasas or kashayas, titrating it with swarasas, and after giving Agni Samyogata with the help of putas, you get bhasmas. After the required number of putas or required number of times of bhavanas and putikaranas, you get, what do you get? You get bhasmas, the concerned bhasmas. Okay, so converting the metals and minerals into fine ashes to make it into an assimilable form, we do Marana. And there are different types mentioned for Marana also. Marana with Rasabhasma is there, with Molibhi is there, Gandhaka is there, and Ariloha is there. Lohana Maranam Shreshtam Sarvesham Rasabhasmana. When you combine it with Rasabhasma and do Marana, it is considered Shreshta. Mulibihi Madhyamam Prahu. When you convert it, when you combine it with Muli, there is Kashtaushadis and do Bhasmikarana, it is considered, those Bhasmas are considered Madhyama. And when it is combined with Gandhaka, Kanishtam Gandhagadibihi, when it is combined with Gandhaka, it is considered Kanishta. And Arilohena Lohasya Maranam Durguna Pradam, when it is combined with the respective Arilohas. Ari means Shatru. Ari means enemy. Okay, Ari means enemy. So when it is combined with enemy metals, then and done Bhasmikarana, it will give you Durguna Prada Bhasma. We'll see why it is mentioned. So I have detailed it in the notes. Anyway, I'll just mention it and go. With Rasa Bhasma, usually amalgams are formed. And that is like, it will be in its pure form and it will have maximum therapeutic efficacy also in minimum dosages. When you convert it, when you mix it with Moolvihi or Kashta Aushadhis, what happens is that we know Kashta Aushadhis, all these raw materials, drugs, the plant-based things contains a lot of inorganic substances in it, in the form of calcium oxide, calcium sulfide, magnesium oxide, sodium carbonate, all inorganic substances are there. This can combine with the concerned metals and form inorganic residues, trace elements of inorganic residues in the plasmas, which can just lower the therapeutic efficacy of these plasmas. So it is known as, it is called Madhyama. When it is mixed with Gandhaka, when it is mixed with Gandhaka or Gandhagadi dravyas like Haridala, Manishila and all, when it is combined, this also, it limits. The sulfides always have a limiting capacity for absorption. When you compare it with sulfides and oxides have more penetrating effect and more absorbing capacity. If you give copper oxide and copper sulfate, copper oxide will have a more intense penetration. that is why arsenic oxide is much more poisonous than arsenic sulfide. Okay, the oxides have a higher penetrating and higher toxicity value. So when it comes to sulfide, you can take it in either way. You can optimize the amount of metals that is going to be used in the body, or you can take in the other way also. It is like it is going to diminish the therapeutic value also. Okay, so that is the but that is why you mentioned it as Kanishta. Then with are like enemy lohas. So those combinations can bring in a lot of residues, unwanted residues in the Hasmas. So it is known as Durguna Prada. But usually it is the Arilohas that we take in, either sulfur or Arilohas that we take in for preparation of Hasmas, because lesser number of Buddhas is only needed for getting optimum Hasmas. Okay. So this is the Arilohas. I have referred the references. Kalena Vangam, Dardena Tikshnam, Nagena Hemam, Shiraya Nagam, Gandashmano Shaiva Nihanti Shulkam, Taram Cha Makshika, Brasena Hanyat. Okay. So for Swarna, it is Naga is the Hariloga, Rajata Swarna Makshika is the Hariloha, Tamra Gandhaka is the Hariloha, Loha Hingula is the Hariloha. For Naga, Manashila, Vanga, Haritala, Rigataloha, Hingula or Nari Paya. Abraka Sartva also Hingula or Nari Paya. For Upaloha, Gandhaga, for Parda, Vajra. Okay, so this is the Arilohas. Next, the basic संस्कार involved is Morchana. तत्तत् विधि प्रभेदेन रसस्य अव्यभिचारतः व्याधिघातकतायास्य मूर्छना तन्मता पुदति. About Shodhana, Marana and all, Jarana and all, we have told about Dhadus, that is metals and minerals, we can do it in that way. But when it comes to mercury, you cannot make bhasma. It is not practically possible to make bhasmas of mercury. So, in order to get the Vyadihara property of mercury, what we do is the process of moshana. That is, we combine this thing, mercury with other materials like sulfur or other concerned dhatus or minerals, and make into a compound. You make a banda between these two, mercury and these materials, and convert it into a assimilable form, into a Vyatihara medical form. So there are two types of moshana, based on presence or absence of sulfur, and based on giving of agni or not giving of agni during the preparation. That is sagandha preparation, nirgandha preparation, based on presence or absence of sulfur. And if we are giving agni or not giving agni during the moshana procedure, we divide it as sa agni, niragni. So sagandha, niragni example is kajjali. Sagandha, sa agni example is rasa sindura. Nirgandha, sa agni preparation is Rasa Karpura. Nirgandha, Niragni preparation is Manikya Rasa. Okay, Rasa Manikya, Mudga Rasa, not Rasa, sorry. Mudga Rasa. These examples I have listed in the notes. Okay, so this is Murshana. So these are the general broad spectrum samskaras involved in Rasa Chikitsa or Rasa Shastra. Now it is to conclude about the superiority of Rasa Chikitsa. न दोषाणां न च दूष्याणां न च पुंसां परीक्षणां न देशस्य न कालस्य कार्यरसचिकित्सके. You don't have to look into dosha, dusha, or which whether this person is like eligible, non-eligible. If it is a female, you should not give. If it is a male, you should give. No such things are there. Na deshasya na kalas. You don't have to look into desha. You don't have to look into kala for giving rasachikitsa. So it is considered superior. Though such a reference is there for Rasaratna Samuchaya, you have to look into the pumsam. Okay, that is, you have to look into the age of the patient. You have to look into the avastha. If there is kidney diseases, you should not give. So, though this reference is there, that is the only exception. Other factors are right. No, you don't have to look into dosha or dosha or anything. You can, as per the roka, you can give the preparation. उत्तमो रसवैद्यस्तु मध्यमो मूलिकादिभिः अधमः शस्त्रदाहाभ्याम् इदं वैद्यं प्रदामः. We have already discussed there are three types of chikilsas, that is rasa chikilsa, mulika chikilsa and shastra chikilsa, of which rasa chikilsa is superior. आसुरी मानुषी देवी चिकित्सा प्रदामदा शस्त्रे कषायैः लोहाद्यैः क्रमान्यामेव सुपूजिताः. So there are three types of chikilsa as mentioned earlier, of which also Devi Chikitsa is the most superior. Okay, we have discussed about why Devi Chikitsa is more superior also, because Kashta Aushadhis, they can treat only Sadhya Rogas, whereas Rasa Aushadhis, they can treat even the Asadhya Rogas. So Rasa Chikitsa is considered superior. Okay, this is regarding the superiority of Rasa we'll have like this is like a summing up of what we have. So actually we have finished our portions, that is fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra, fundamental principles of Bhaishya Kalpana. We have gone through it. Now let's just have a quick review of the frequently asked questions. Okay, it is regarding history of Rasa Shastra. You know how to write history of Rasa Shastra, right? There are 4 ages like Vedic age, Samhita Kala, Sangraha Kala, as well as Adunika Kala, and also write the development and progress of Rasa and Rasa Shastra in all these ages. So that is how you have to write history of Rasa Shastra. Regarding importance of Rasa Shastra, when importance of Rasa Shastra is being asked, just start with this. Alpamatrobhyogitvad Vijayara Prasannata. That is the first quotation you should always mention. That is the in small dosages without much vistage you get Shipramarogyam. That is one of the major importance of Rasa Shastra. Further, you can write all these slokas, you can quote all these things and explain on those things. Okay, that is regarding to importance of Rasa Shastra. Importance of Rasa Chikitsa also the same thing you can write. Both have same answers only. The key points are the same. Okay. Now regarding to the importance of Bhaishya Kalpana. Importance of Bhaishya Kalpana, we have already detailed it in very detailed class we have gone through. That is Upasya Mahartatvam Prabhudasya Alpakarmata with 5 things. Sanyoga Vishlesha Kala Samskara Yukti. With these 5 principles, you utilize Bhaishya Kalpana, you take up Bhaishya Kalpana, and also you can convert even a Visha into an Aushadha, isn't it? By Yukti. In the same way, the reverse can also happen. So that is all, that is those things which you have to explain when importance of Bhaishya Kalpana is being asked. Concept of Samskara and purview of Rasa Shastra and Vaishya Kalpana. That too we have discussed. That is, in Rasa Shastra, the pharmaceutical procedures, I have mentioned it in 4 major headings. You have to detail it very precisely. Further detailed notes will be provided in the coming classes when we are going to deal with the pharmaceutical procedures in detailed manner. Just because it is coming under the basic principles of Rasa Shastra, I have mentioned. Write short note on Raseshwara Darshan. That also you can write, right? About the books which have mentioned Rasavadaya Tandra, Sarva Darshana, Sangraha and all, who have very detailedly mentioned about Raseshwara Darshana. What is the concept behind Raseshwara Darshan, the Sthira Deha, the Jivan Mukti, etc. and all you have to write. And also then basic principles of Rasa Shastra is being asked. You should also include the pharmaceutical procedures along with the importance of Rasa Shastra. And you have to mix both these points and write when fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra is being asked. Okay, we have to write the importance of Rasa Shastra as well as the pharmaceutical procedures of Rasa Shastra also when fundamental principles of Rasa Shastra is being asked. Okay, I hope the all the portions that is covered today is clear to you. Thank you. Yeah, winding up the session. If there is any doubts, any clarifications needed, you can definitely ask.
The participants can themselves unmute and ask the doubts, or can also put in the chat box.
Is there any clarification that you need? If there is anything, you can even ask me via WhatsApp also. Uh, the slides will be shared to you. The notes will also be shared to you. If there is anything, you can ask. If it's something which I know, I can answer you. Otherwise, I'll refer and tell. you want any clarifications of the topics also, you can ask. So I think there is no queries. Dr. Anjana, so can we wind up?
Yeah, doctor, we can wind up. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. So for any further queries, you can contact Dr. Jasul. We'll have academic sessions along with this in par with the syllabus points, and notes will also be provided. For further queries, you can contact Dr. Jasul. Thank you.